we have here? One of the old full-size laser discs. This particular movie, you have to flip the disc about 6 times in order to see the whole thing because it only holds an hour per side. Or actually, only a half hour per side on this one. Yeah, but just can't seem to part with it quite yet. So, it was last time that I did the contest was, of course, the usual guessing thing, but I'm not going to be doing that this year because I want to get the best of the decade out of the way. And so we have 1 year left, though, and that's 2009. So the 3 movies that I'm picking as my favorites for 2009 start with Where the Wild Things Are, which is directed by Spike Jonze, who did Being John Malkovich, an adaptation, and many very great music videos. They had a lot of trouble with this. The studio was not really cool with what was happening as in terms of how the film was turning out. And it's small wonder because this is really a movie more about kids than for kids. Kids and most adults really like plot-driven movies where there's some sort of clear objective to be achieved, a race to be won, a bad guy to be caught, a girl to be won over, and this is not like that. This is about a kid who sort of has problems at home, and he ends up burrowing himself into a fantasy world where his little stuffed animals have personalities, and he becomes their king and leads them on a rambunctious play, and they all sleep in a big pile and have a great time. But after a while, he runs out of things to do, and they become bored, and they start arguing with each other and fighting, and this is something that would probably make a lot of kids uncomfortable to watch. In fact, when I went to the theater, it was full of families, and I was like, I don't know how people are going to dig this too much. But it's different, very different, and really great photography, of course, and all the animals. They did a sort of a full body suit to make them really big, but they used CGI to animate the faces. It turned out really nicely. It's not an easy movie to love, I guess, but it's certainly different, and I like that quite a bit. And it's got its own sort of, way about itself. I also really enjoyed Coraline. Coraline is by Henry Selick, who did The Nightmare Before Christmas. And it's based, like Where the Wild Things Are, a children's book about a kid, a young girl who moves to a new home with her family, doesn't really like it, and then finds a doorway to sort of an alternate universe, a better version of her life, with parents who are more attentive and more interested in attending to her whims, and the food is better. But there's a catch, a rather sinister catch. It's being controlled by someone rather evil and wants something badly from her. Loyalty, or something akin to that. This is a stop-motion movie. Unlike CGI and hand-drawn animation, the figurines that are used for the characters, basically, and all the other objects have to be positioned 1 frame at a time, and then 1 frame of film is exposed, and each little element, I just can't imagine the amount of work that must go into making something like this. And I was also recommended another film that's like this by one of my other viewers, Marion Max. It's a claymation movie, if I remember right, from Australia. And it didn't get a general release here in the States, at least not in Chicago. I caught it on demand, actually, but it's also another really good example of that type of animation, where it's sort of, you have to actually work with your hands on a thing. It isn't just, about manipulating and constructing images in a computer. The climax of this movie is really intense, actually, and they showed it in 3D in a lot of theaters, but it isn't even necessary to see it in 3D. In fact, it's probably better if you see it in 2D, because it's just so spectacular. I mean, where the garden basically moves around, all the little plants are moving. You can't imagine how many hours it must have taken, how many days it must have taken to pull off that one shot, moving every little bit 1 frame at a time. It's really something. And it's an exciting story, too. Very, very exciting and intense. At one point, the entire environment seems to, collapse on itself. It's just amazing. And here, finally, is a film called Wendy and Lucy. This is a low-budget film. Was made for just, a small chunk of change. I don't know, $30,000, something like that. It's very low budget film. The main character is played by Michelle Williams, who's been in a lot of really good films over this last decade, and this is probably you know, one of the best ones. I mean, she was in Brokeback Mountain, of course, with Heath Ledger. But in this one, she's pretty much the whole show. She plays a young girl who's traveling from Indiana to Alaska looking for work. She hears there's work in a fishery up in Alaska where the living expenses are minimal. But her car breaks down in Oregon, and she's very low on cash. She only has a very limited budget. It's like $500 to her name. She's got to get her car fixed. She's got to feed her dog, Lucy. And so she decides to shoplift. And when she gets caught, Lucy's stuck tied to a post outside, and by the time she gets back from the police station, Lucy's gone. And she spends the rest of the movie looking for her. Very upset. And it is upsetting, you know. This is a kind of movie where not a lot happens, but there's a strong emotional investment there. You know, you don't get a lot of background as to how she got into the situation in the first place, but she's in it and she's got to deal with it, and that's what she does. She just deals with each challenge as it comes on. She's got to deal with the expense of getting her car fixed, and just with, you know, where do I sleep? You know, she can't afford to stay in a hotel or anything like that. It's totally out of the question. She's got to make her money last until she gets to Alaska, of all places. And, you know, she's, of course, very upset about her dog as well. Now, I wouldn't say that the ending is you know, it's a negative ending. You know, nothing really bad happens in the end, but it is not necessarily the happiest of endings. And it's a pretty emotional experience too. It was done minimally, you know, very small budget, minimum of setups, and it's a real winner actually. Very emotional experience. So there's 2009, my 3 favorite movies of 2009. And in about 1 week's time, I'm going to be putting up a video inviting everyone to take a look at the 30 movies that I've been naming, 3 per year, and pick 10 of them. Pick 10 of them. Which 10 are going to be on the best of the decade list? Favorites of the decade, actually, I should say. It's more like favorites because in order to be the best of the decade, I have to see like them all, and that's impossible. So, but anyway, there's DVD prizes for those who guess correctly. So good luck there. And thanks very much for watching. See you real soon.